The marble columns of Wall Street aren't a sign of strength. They are a tombstone. For over a century, 5 names have dominated the global psyche: J.P. Morgan Chase, ICBC, Bank of America, HSBC, and Agricultural Bank of China. Together, they hold the keys to the global engine. They decide who gets credit, who gets wiped out, and which nation-states are allowed to prosper. But what if I told you that these 5 institutions, the Big 5, that currently manage over $15 trillion in assets, are already technologically bankrupt? The Big 5, that currently manage over $15 trillion in assets. They are empty shells, walking corpses in a world that has already moved to the protocol. They are currently being replaced, not by smaller banks or nimbler startups, but by immutable code. While the mainstream media is obsessed with interest rate hikes and quarterly earnings, the smart money is watching the great inversion. This is the moment when the 5 pillars of the legacy financial world are swallowed by 5 decentralized protocols. This isn't a theory. This is the autopsy of the legacy bank, the architecture of a dying empire. To understand why these 5 protocols win, you must understand why the banks lose. A traditional bank is a trusted third party. In the 19th century, this was a revolutionary technology. If you wanted to send money from London to Hong Kong, you couldn't trust the pirate-infested seas or the corrupt local authorities. You needed a bank, a centralized entity with a brand, a physical presence, and a relationship with the state, to act as a guarantor. But trust is expensive. To maintain that trust, banks have to hire tens of thousands of compliance officers. They have to build skyscrapers. They have to pay lobbyists. They have to navigate a labyrinth of conflicting regulations across 190 different countries. This creates a trust tax. Every time you interact with a bank, you are paying for their inefficiency. The protocols we are about to discuss have a trust tax of 0. They don't have compliance departments. They have math. They don't have skyscrapers. They have servers. They don't have lobbyists. They have consensus. 1. The replacement for J.P. Morgan Chase. The settlement layer, Ethereum and L2s. J.P. Morgan Chase is the world's clearing house. It is the bank of banks. Its power comes from its ability to settle transactions between the world's largest institutions. When a multi-billion-dollar deal happens, J.P. Morgan is often the one updating the ledger. They are the settlement layer of the legacy world. But J.P. Morgan's ledger is closed, opaque, and slow. It takes days to clear T+2 trades. It relies on the SWIFT network, a messaging system designed in the 1970s that is as clunky as a fax machine. Ethereum, specifically through its Layer 2 scaling solutions like Arbitrum, Base, and Optimism, is the replacement for the global settlement layer. Ethereum doesn't close on weekends. It doesn't have a settlement window. It is a global, shared ledger that updates in real time. When a transaction happens on a Layer 2, it is final, verifiable, and immutable within seconds. J.P. Morgan has tried to fight this by building Onyx, its own private blockchain. But a private blockchain is just a database with a fancy name. It still requires you to trust J.P. Morgan. The world is realizing that a public, neutral settlement layer is infinitely superior to a private, biased one. As BlackRock and Fidelity begin tokenizing their trillions, they aren't putting them on a J.P. Morgan server. They are putting them on the Ethereum virtual machine. The clearinghouse of the future isn't a building in Manhattan. It's a global state machine that can't be bribed, bullied, or shut down. 2. The replacement for ICBC. The credit engine, Sky/MakerDAO. The Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, ICBC, is the largest bank in the world by assets. Its core function is the issuance of credit. It takes the savings of the Chinese people and the state and injects it into the global economy as debt. It is the engine of the debt-based empire. But ICBC's credit issuance is a tool of political control. If the state wants to cool the economy, credit disappears. If the state wants to pump a bubble, credit explodes. It is a centralized, manipulated lever. Sky, formerly known as MakerDAO, is the decentralized replacement for the global credit engine. MakerDAO allows anyone, anywhere to mint the DAI, now transitioning into new stable forms, by locking up collateral. There is no loan officer. There is no credit check. There is no political mandate. If you have the collateral, the code grants you the credit. MakerDAO is currently the world's most efficient central bank. It manages a multi-billion-dollar treasury of digital and real-world assets. It adjusts interest rates, the stability fee, based on market demand, not political whim. While ICBC has to navigate the crumbling Chinese real estate market and the demands of the CCP, MakerDAO operates on a transparent, mathematical mandate. It is the first truly global, neutral credit issuer. ICBC is a regional power. MakerDAO is a planetary protocol. 3. The replacement for Bank of America, the consumer vault Aave. Bank of America is the quintessential retail bank. Its power lies in the millions of savings and loan accounts held by everyday people. It is where you go to get a mortgage, a car loan, or a 0.01% interest rate on your life savings. But Bank of America is a parasite on the retail consumer. It takes your deposit, lends it out to a hedge fund for a 10% return, and gives you a fraction of a percent back while charging you a monthly maintenance fee. Aave is the protocol that replaces the consumer bank. Aave is a decentralized liquidity market. If you have money, you deposit it into an Aave pool and immediately start earning the market rate of interest. There's no spread taken by a middleman. If you need a loan, you borrow from the pool instantly, 24/7, without a single piece of paperwork. The consumer vault of the future isn't a local branch with a friendly teller. It is a smart contract that treats every user like a VIP. In Aave, the retail user gets the same institutional rates as the whale. It is the ultimate democratization of the savings and loan model. Bank of America's massive overhead, its thousands of branches and millions of employees, is its biggest liability. Aave does the same job with a few hundred lines of code and zero physical footprint. For the replacement for HSBC, the global nervous system, Chainlink. HSBC is the world's local bank. Its specialty is cross-border trade and the movement of information between different jurisdictions. It is the connective tissue of global commerce. It exists because System A doesn't know how to talk to System B. But HSBC is a slow, expensive, and often compromised middleman. It has been caught in countless scandals involving money laundering and regulatory failure because it is trying to be the truth in a world of lies. Chainlink is the protocol that replaces the global information intermediary. Chainlink is more than just oracles. It is the cross-chain interoperability protocol, CCIP. It is the technology that allows the Bank of England to talk to Ethereum, and Ethereum to talk to Aave, and Aave to talk to a physical shipping container in Singapore. Chainlink provides the verifiable truth for the global economy. It feeds the data that triggers the smart contracts. It moves the value between the chains. HSBC is a bridge made of wood and bureaucracy. Chainlink is a bridge made of light and cryptography. As the world moves toward real-world asset tokenization, Chainlink becomes the nervous system of the entire planet. It makes the global bank model obsolete because the network itself is the connection. 5. The replacement for Agricultural Bank of China / Goldman Sachs. The liquidity hub, Uniswap. The Agricultural Bank of China and investment giants like Goldman Sachs dominate the world of market making and exchange. They provide the liquidity that allows the world to swap assets, currency, stocks, and commodities. They sit at the center of the flow, taking a tiny clip of every transaction. They are the gatekeepers of the market. If they don't want to facilitate a trade, the trade doesn't happen. If they want to front-run your trade, they have the high-frequency tools to do it. Uniswap is the protocol that replaces the centralized exchange and the investment bank. Uniswap is an automated market maker EMM. It doesn't have an order book. It doesn't have a trading desk. It has liquidity pools where anyone can become a market maker. Uniswap has already processed trillions of dollars in volume with a staff of a few dozen people. It provides deeper liquidity for many assets than any centralized bank ever could. It is the infinite liquidity hub. It cannot be shut down. It cannot front-run you. It is a mathematical constant in a world of variables. Goldman Sachs is a star system based on human genius. Uniswap is a gravitational constant based on a simple equation, $x asterisk y equals k dollar. The great inversion, why the banks cannot compete. We are currently in the S-curve of adoption. To the casual observer, the big five banks still look powerful. They still have the tall buildings. They still have the government's ear. But their foundation is rotting. The banks are facing a triple threat that they are structurally incapable of solving. 1. The overhead trap. A protocol like Aave can manage $20 billion with a handful of developers. Bank of America needs 200,000 employees to manage its assets. The cost of human trust is simply too high. In a hyper-efficient market, the high-overhead entity is always liquidated by the low-overhead protocol. 2. The 24/7/365 reality. The legacy financial world operates on bankers' hours. The markets close. The wires stop. The settlement pauses. But the digital world never sleeps. A CEO in London doesn't want to wait until Monday morning for a transaction to clear. They will move to the protocol that works at the speed of the internet. Once the liquidity leaves the closed system for the open system, it never comes back. 3. The permissionless innovation. If you want to build a new financial product on top of JP Morgan, you have to spend 3 years in meetings and millions in legal fees. If you want to build on top of Uniswap, you just write the code. This creates an evolutionary explosion. The protocols are evolving every single day, while the banks are still trying to figure out how to get their legacy apps to stop crashing. The geopolitical shift from nations to networks. The most profound impact of these 5 protocols isn't financial, it's geopolitical. The big 5 banks are the financial arms of their respective nation-states. JP Morgan is the US. ICBC is China. HSBC is the UK/Hong Kong. Their power is the power of the state. If you cross the state, the bank freezes your account. This is the weaponization of finance. But the protocols are post-national. They don't have a flag. They don't have a headquarters. They are neutral infrastructure for the human race. This represents the end of the bankers' war. In the old world, you could collapse an enemy by cutting them off from the big 5. In the new world, as long as you have an internet connection and a private key, you are a first-class citizen of the global economy. We are moving from a world of financial hegemony to a world of financial sovereignty. This is the ultimate FutureFund thesis. The individual is being upgraded from a subject of the bank to a node in the network. The 90-day deadline, the tipping point. As we detailed in our previous briefing, the great token migration is not a slow trickle. It is a dam about to burst. We are seeing the institutional front-running happening right now. Why is BlackRock launching its Biddle fund on Ethereum? Why is Franklin Templeton putting its treasury on-chain? Why is the Swift network testing integration with Chainlink? Because they see the writing on the wall. They know that the big 5 banks are no longer the most secure places to hold value. The most secure place is a decentralized protocol that is audited by thousands of independent parties and secured by billions of dollars in cryptographic hardware. We are approaching the 90-day deadline, the window of time where the transition from experimental to standard becomes irreversible. Once the world's major central banks and asset managers realize that they can save 90% on their operational costs by moving to the protocol, the great inversion will complete in a matter of months. The final crash of the legacy market will coincide with the final migration to the protocol. The banks won't go bankrupt in the traditional sense. They will simply become irrelevant. They will be the post offices of the 21st century, slow, government-subsidized relics that people only use when they are forced to. Your position in the new hierarchy. So where do you stand? If your wealth is still tied up in the big 5, you are holding a liability disguised as an asset. You are trusting a system that is inefficient, extractive, and increasingly desperate. You are paying for the marble floors of a building that is scheduled for demolition. The FutureFund strategy is simple. Move from the institution to the protocol. Asterisk, don't just be a customer of Bank of America. Be a liquidity provider on Aave. Don't just trade on a centralized exchange. Learn to use the DX, decentralized exchange, like Uniswap. Don't just trust a banker's word. Trust the Chainlink oracle. Don't just hold fiat currency. hold the sovereign credit of Sky/MakerDAO. The power shift is absolute. The Big Five used to own you. In the new world, you own the bank. You are the board of directors. You are the auditor. You are the CEO. The question is no longer, when will the banks fail? The question is, when will you stop acting like a subject and start acting like a sovereign? The protocols are running. The code is audited. The bridge is open. The last thing the Big Five want you to do is to realize that they are optional. They want you to believe that finance is a mystery that requires their expert guidance. They want you to believe that the protocol is risky while the bank is safe. The truth is the exact opposite. The bank is the risk. The protocol is the safety. The 5 protocols are the New World Order. They are the infrastructure of a post-human, autonomous economy. They are the engines of the FutureFund. Are you ready to stop paying for the marble and start owning the math? The transition is happening now. The 90-day clock is ticking. The great inversion is here. Welcome to the end of the Big Five. Welcome to the beginning of the protocol empire. This is FutureFund. The code is the Constitution. The network is the nation. The sovereign is you.